Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 973 area code. Who's this?
Hello, is this me?
Yes, it is. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Don from New Jersey.
Don from New Jersey.
All right. I just wanted to ask, first, the coverage of the June 8th Red Line protest. I noticed that a lot of the main news outlets didn't really cover it very much, and I got a lot of friends that were saying, like, yeah, while they were there, they were expecting at least a little bit more coverage of it, but I've noticed that the only place that was really had some intel on it was Breakthrough News and then a little bit from CNN. But while they were there, they were talking about that they're going to be moving to escalation. And I just wanted to ask, like, in this climate now, how do we escalate past the protest? Because clearly we're 8 months in. I mean, the ceasefire permanently is necessary, but I'm looking at how come we're not talking about sanctions on Israel at some point or something to that degree. And I just want to know, as a person who's trying to be more active and be an activist and different things like that, I just want to know what is the next step past protesting. Because, I mean, I went to a protest the other day where we were able to get our message out there, but then you have the police blockades, you have the bike cops, and then they corralled us off into another block. And this was during the Puerto Rican Day Parade. So
right.
I'm just wondering, how do we legally go to the next step of escalation outside of voting, outside of anything else, without turning into some January 6th type of mob of people? Because I feel like that's what our law enforcement wants, so that they can have a reason to kind of brand protesters as violent or something like that. But I'm ripping my hair out with this.
I think we need someone to start calling the members of the squad to start saying that ceasefire is not enough. I'm imagining that they're getting some pressure from the Biden administration to kind of hold back because he's trying to get the ceasefire deal done. But I think that needs to be the next step, sanctioning Israel. And there should, whether it be Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush, whoever leads the way on this, I think calling their offices and asking for that is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the activist side of this, I think it's, something to be coordinated among, your group of activists. But I've seen Columbia protesters say that the escalation in terms of like taking over Hind Hall, that they regret not doing that sooner, frankly. And so I imagine that those sorts of conversations are continuing. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know that escalation includes things that you can't necessarily be arrested for, like, I don't know, blocking a street or, chaining yourself onto something, and I'm by arrest, I mean, civil disobedience. I would imagine that you're not going to get much movement out of congressional folks until we get past the primaries for a lot of these. I mean, because you watch like Bowman they're dumping it seems like every other day there's an announcement of another $1 million or $600,000 going into getting him supporting George Latimer, who was about as conservative of a Democrat as you could imagine. Not in Long Island, but maybe even more so in some respects. And so, I think, look, the frustration is gonna be from the fact that the American public is just, largely speaking, I think, is just not engaged in foreign policy questions, even when, we're the ones who are waging the war. There's a limited amount. But I think the idea is, there may be some tactical stuff that you could take from like the climate movement. Like they do a good job of like disrupting sort of situations, whether it's like fundraisers or, And I think there's also like value to this type of disruption that provides value to other parties, right? Like, so if you're going out there and disrupting a fundraiser for AIPAC, and then all of a sudden, like, you're really like, you've got a bunch of other constituencies that, you know, even you're seeing now, like, I noticed over the weekend some writing about, you know, the largest Republican donors in Democratic primaries are all going through AIPAC, right? And so then all of a sudden, like, there's parts of that protest that have some type of tactical value to more mainstream, you know, institutions and people, and they may amplify it, even though it's not necessarily that they're fully on board with everything else. You know what I'm saying? So that can help. And then I think, you know, it's just it's the equivalent of a protest on the lawn and taking over a building type of thing. Like, there's other acts of civil disobedience. You know, earlier in the year, Bill McKibben was planning to get arrested. They had gotten arrested. A bunch of climate activists had gotten arrested, I think, a year or two before as well, out in front of the White House, that type of thing. So.
Yeah, because even I'm getting some reports from some of the protesters that I'm working with. We're looking at trying to protest George Latimer's event that's supposed to be being held tomorrow, and we've protested at another event that was supposed to be some type of gala earlier in June, and trying to make the people more aware, trying to make the public more aware, because I'm thinking too also, it's like, well, let's say if we were to do another, we block people in the streets, or even with the DC protest, they can only go so far. So I'm like, is there a way like we could walk, not because I guess it's trespassing that they don't want to happen or something. Because I'm like, could we just walk past the cops? Like, they'll try to arrest people, but like, can't we just walk past them or like ignore them if they're trying to block away or something? I'm just like, I don't know. I just wanted to call in, and I watch the show pretty regularly to keep myself abreast of different world news. So, but I was trying to see what wanted you guys to weigh in on some of this.
Well, I mean, I think there's models out there. There's models out there for, you know, how to do this, you know, from Occupy and from the climate movement.
There's what was the book that just came out recently? Was it by Vincent Bevins? Hold on.
If We Burn or something like that?
Yeah. So If We Burn, I think a lot of the demonstrators have actually read this, maybe because they've learned a lot of the lessons from Occupy, which are detailed in If We Burn. But that's probably a good place to start, because they, for example, you know, not having them having message discipline and not having a random person just go and talk to reporters, having a spokesperson. It seems, I'm just speculating, but If We Burn talks about some of those failures of Occupy. That's a great book to start with in terms of it talks about international protest movements and domestic ones, and gives you a roadmap.
I should say before I let you go, Miller Time just IM'd and said the bail is $120,000 for the individuals who took over the building off of Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. Who would risk that, honestly? So, you know, I don't know. The jurisdictions where this takes place, I would imagine, are different. But appreciate the call. Wish I had something more substantive to be able to tell you.
Have some time.
All right. Thanks. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.